låten der. Bra jobba, kompis. Welcome to another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Pirate Queen Raae!
That's me.
The pirate princess?
I have to fix something because the stream you didn't have is taking up the spot on our live page. So the people who got the emails are not coming to the correct place.
I'm your host.
There we go.
I'm your host. I'm your host, Captain Olavia.
Kan jeg gå?
Ja, nå kan du gå. And today's taskable task is...
Do you want me to say it?
Remote file. Why?
Ow!
No CDN. And that's an image there. No image CDN. And how
No image
is...
CDN. Oh, I forgot to.
And how
Here's
is...
the flag from 17th of May. Woo! Hip hip hurrah!
And how is 1, validation, 2,
Yes.
option only, 3, node, 4, date node with node.
Date node with node. Yes.
Any comments?
No. What have we been up to this week? While we wait for some people to trickle in.
We have been... well, you can maybe tell it.
I can tell it. So on Tuesday was Norway's National Day or Constitution Day. And it's one of my favorite days because it's when Norwegians become extroverted like me. Or, well, anyway, like traditionally Norwegians are quite introverted and don't like to talk to strangers, and we don't really have parties in the streets and stuff like that. But on 17th of May, we all get out of our shells, I guess, and we just have a huge party in the whole town, and it's so much fun. And if you hang around with us on Twitter, you've seen a photo of Ola and Lillian and I in our favorite clothes, our finest, which is a national... Ola's was a mix between a national costume and his own things, his pirate wear, and mine was a national costume, and also Lillian's. I even forgot my crown. What's up with today? I forgot to follow my prep script, I think. Oh, so if you're seeing this in a replay, you might want to check out the descriptions and see if we put some timestamps in there, and you can like jump around. Jump around! Jump around! Okay.
My camera is missing the Gatsby flag.
Oh, it doesn't
It's
see the
there. There it
it's
is.
your little gold Gatsby flag. Okay. I guess we're ready now. Hopefully people are coming in though, because we had the wrong link in the or we messed up something on the link in our email. So, or the link in the email was correct, but the stream that we didn't do was like squatting in our live place, our live link. Because I thought YouTube would be smart enough to just take whatever we are doing live and put it on the live page, but it took the like next scheduled stream, which is like a couple of days ago, and we didn't do that one, and it kind of squatted our place. Anyway, I guess people don't care about this. Maybe we should just like start coding. So as Ola said, today we're doing...
Yes.
Yes. So as Ola said, we are doing a remote file, a remote image file. So for our plugin, we have been using the new Gatsby CDN. We implemented support for Gatsby CDN, and you can turn on Gatsby CDN on ImageCDN on both Gatsby Cloud and Netlify. But I am guessing both places will start asking you to pay extra for it, or there might be other reasons that you don't want to use the ImageCDN. For instance, if you're not deploying to Netlify or Gatsby, cloud you're deploying to your own server or your own AWS, thing, or Heroku Droplet, wherever. If you're hosting it somewhere that is none of these places and you just need a static build, you still need to use Gatsby image in the way we've always done, and you won't be able to support Gatsby ImageCDN. And I have talked to somebody where this is the case because they want to serve everything from a server that they own in EU to be 100% compliant with GDPR rules. So they want to source all of the images into their build by downloading them through the createRemoteFile function that we actually had in our plugin, and then we removed it when we added support with Gatsby ImageCDN, because in my mind I thought maybe if there was no support for ImageCDN, it would build differently and actually download these files. But obviously, that's hard for Gatsby to know while building. So anyway, so we might have to make sure that our plugin can support both. So we want to let the user of our plugin decide if they want to download the image files locally and serve them as they would local files and using Gatsby Image, or if they want to be able to support Gatsby ImageCDN, or like the third case would be like not do anything with the images. So the plugin we're going to be working on is our Gatsby source plugin, no, our Gatsby source YouTube OEmbed, where we use the open protocol, open protocol OEmbed, the OEmbed protocol, so we don't have to have a API key or anything like that to work on it. So it's a good showcase when we are doing more kind of educational content. I guess let's code. I'm just rambling at this point.
Let's code. Let's code.
Let's code.
So are you going to do step 1 first? Validation?
I am going to just show what I've done in preparation for this, because I made, so I'm going to move myself over, and then I'm going to share my screen. So what I've done is that usually we've only had one demo site, and I've now called that demo CDN. And then I've created a new demo site called demo download. And what I've done here is that I've said, okay, thumbnails, I want to use the download mode. And then for demo CDN, I'm going to use the CDN mode. And then I haven't made a demo for the kind of none mode. So I prepared that in advance, and the difference is also in the and how we're using the image. If we have the image CDN, we could do Gatsby image, and our query looks like this. So our thumbnail query is then a Gatsby image with all of our kind of configuration. But then when we go back to using the good old image sharp, then we need to do the Gatsby child. We do need to do child image sharp and then get the Gatsby image data inside of there on our thumbnail. So I kind of prepped that so we don't have to go through that for our stream today. So what we'll be working on today then is making both of these work. And the first task, I'm going to write our tasks here so we have them. Let me write them somewhere else, like a task MD, so I don't have to scroll up all the time. And we could do it like so. So we have our little task MD over here. And the first thing we wanted to do, remind me.
Validation.
So we want to validate that plugin option that I showed you. And then
which plugin is that?
So that will be
CDN.
Yeah, both of them. So what we want to do is that we want to make sure that we add something in our plugin options schema to make sure we only allow CDN mode, download mode, or none. Okay. Okay, and then the next step.
Okay. Option only.
Option only? Is that what I wrote? Or you wrote option only?
I wrote that. You had something long. I can read it too. I have it here.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Only do CDN stuff when thumbnails plugin option is CDN.
Only do CDN stuff when CDN is chosen. And then 3.
node. The remote create remote file node for thumbnail when thumbnails plugin option is download.
Create. So create file local file node when download is chosen. Configured, I guess. Configured. And then for we're gonna date.
They're gonna date the nodes. So the YouTube, the new node, right? The remote file node, and then the YouTube node. They're going to date, and we
Yes.
already have the YouTube node.
Yes. So connect the YouTube node to the local file node. Local file node when download is configured. Okay. So let's hit it. So the code as it is stands now, only supports CDN, the CDN version. So what we need to do now is make it so the user of the plugin can decide if they want to support CDN or if they want to support download, or if they want to support kind of none of these. So I'm just gonna make this small so it can be over there. Okay, so I'm gonna call the option for just thumbnails, or maybe thumbnails mode would be better. Would that be more explicit? Thumbnail mode. Let's do that. And it has to be a string.
Yes.
And the valid, I cannot type today. Valid strings are CDN, or it's none, CDN, or download. So let's do CDN. And if none is selected, we're going to default to CDN.
Ah, I have the solution for my camera now.
Okay, cool.
Keep going.
So everything we are doing that has to do with thumbnails in this plugin, we are now only going to do if CDN is the thumbnail mode that we have selected. So plugin options. So all of our kind of lifecycle hooks here will take the first parameter will be the Gatsby utils, and then the second parameter will be the plugin options. So all of this will then happen if plugin options thumbnail mode equals CDN. Okay, so this should only happen if thumbnail mode is CDN. And then we're still sourcing the nodes for both of these, but then on create node, we should only create a YouTube thumbnail node in the way we are doing it if the CDN is, if our thumbnail mode is CDN. So if plugin options equals CDN, thumbnail mode. Did I call it thumbnails mode or thumbnail mode? I called it thumbnail mode. Okay, cool. What is happening here is that for every YouTube node, we are using the URL for the thumbnail to create these kind of remote files. And when we're doing it in a specific way, when it's the CDN, and we're doing that by creating this, using this thumbnail node type that has a remote file interface, and then Gatsby will add in all of the stuff it needs to add in to support CDN. So that's what we want to, still do when CDN mode is on. And I think that's it. Yes. So if we now run our CDN demo, it should still work. And then in our download demo, we should have no thumbnails. So yarn demo. Your audio is very weird, Ola. It's picking up something.
Is it better now?
Yes. Yes.
Oh
Much better.
no.
You cannot have that fan on if that was the fan.
Yes, it was. I kind of need it actually, but that's life, I guess.
Hmm. So I'm running the CDN demo, and then I'm going to run the download demo. Yarn demo download. Download, develop. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it was great on 17th of May, and the pirate princess, she had found out that there is kind of a rule in the Norwegian constitution that says that girls can have as many, or should have as many, ice creams as they want on the 17th of May. So she made a deal that she was going to get the two first for free, and then she was going to pay for the next ones. But she didn't actually end up paying for that many, did she? How many did she pay for?
Somebody's mom decided to pay for all of them.
What? Whose mom?
The pirate princess mom, the
Oh,
queen.
okay. I see. I see. Okay then. So yeah, but she had, how many did she have there? I remember that I bought the first one.
She ended up getting 9 ice creams.
Yes, that's a new record.
That is a record.
It's a new personal record. Very good.
Okay. So we can still see here in our CDN demo, which I'm running on localhost 8000, that it's still working, and that our localhost 8001 is not working. And that is because it's failing because there is no, field on the child image sharp thing. So that's what we're going to fix now. So first step, but we can also have a look at the our favorite, the graphicule,
Yes.
because
Favorite.
we can see now that we're not supposed to get any YouTube thumbnails here. We're only supposed to get them here. So something is not correct. So I think I'm going to do a clear and then build again to make sure that we are doing this from clean. A yarn. Let's see, a yarn. Sometimes it's just weird. Demo CDN clean, and that do yarn demo download clean. Then let's run them both again.
Yeah.
Because if I've done it correctly, we should have no kind of thumbnail stuff happening here in the download version, because we're only doing the thumbnail things now if we have configured the demo to use the CDN mode.
Yes.
Yes. And I don't know why it took me a while, but it took me a while when we added support for Gatsby ImageCDN. It took me a while to realize, but we need to support both of these because otherwise, if people don't have an ImageCDN, then it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But something is wrong here. Okay. So in onCreate now, if internal type and if it's CDN, yes, we do that there. And then we only create types if plugin, only do the YouTube type and the YouTube thumbnail if it's CDN. Okay, let's see if we can make this happen. Okay, so here we have our YouTube thumbnail, of course, because that's the CDN. But why am I still getting thumbnails here? Oh, I know another place we need to do this. We need to skip the polyfill image service dev routes. we don't need those if there is no CDN. CDN. Okay, let's make sure this is set up correctly. It's so hard with the big letters. Yes, download. It's the download one. It's on 8001. Yes. And the download config is download. Okay. So why is it creating all of our thumbnail? So if plugin option thumbnail mode equals CDN. So thumbnail type. This should only happen if it's CDN. And then on create node, thumbnail mode, create YouTube thumbnail. So that should only happen if it's created. And if we scroll up on our CDN mode, we should see that it's creating YouTube nodes and then YouTube thumbnail nodes. And if we scroll up on this, it should not be making that. And it doesn't look like it's making that, but it looks like it's failing in some way. On type, cannot type child image sharp on type YouTube thumbnail. Why does it? It is creating YouTube thumbnail node for. Okay, what's up? Oh, I know. I changed the name. Haha, I changed it to thumbnail mode. And in my other configs here, I put thumbnails. So it was defaulting to CDN on both of them.
I didn't see the thumbnails. There they are.
Yeah, so I had thumbnails as instead of some thumbnail mode. So, you know, that's what I get for like prepping and then not following my prep plan.
Yes.
So let's do another clean. Just to make sure. And then do another develop. And we'll hopefully see what's happening. Yeah. So I think if you own a CMS or any other kind of service that wants to let the users of your plugin, enable CDN, you also have to let them be able to download the files as local image files so that they don't have to have a hosting provider that will, support Gatsby CDN, because then something, things need to happen, be set up on a server in a specific way. And as I said, both Netlify and Gatsby Cloud does support image CDN, but I've been having some issues on Netlify, probably my issues, but it's always nice to be able to fall back to using kind of the good old way of doing it, where we are downloading these files into our build so that we know that the files exist and, we have them locally. Because if we don't, my third mode that we're not going to show today is what I call none. And if you're going to use the none, you would use the, the thumbnail URL directly and use the image as it is served from the Google servers. But as I said, like for some cases, you don't want to have images being served by somebody else. You want them to be served by the same server that you control. And also, Google might decide to remove this image and you want to still have it inside of your build. Okay, now let's try. Okay, we did it. No thumbnails in our download configuration. And we have thumbnails in our CDN configuration. Okay.
Yes.
But we are, of course, getting errors because we have no thumbnails in our download version because we haven't done that code.
So we have done two now?
Yes, we have done one where we're validating. We're saying it has to be called, thumbnail mode, and only one of these are allowed. Only non-CDN or download mode is allowed. And then we have made it so that the CDN code we had only happens if we've configured it to use the CDN mode. So then we need to, for download mode, we need to create a local file node inside of onCreate node. So let's head on to onCreate node. Here's my onCreate node. So let's do else if plugin options thumbnail mode equals download. Can I spell? Yes. Then we want to create a YouTube local file thumbnail node. Thumbnail node, and we want to send in the Gatsby utils. Let's copy that name and then create that file, or create that function. Gatsby utils.
Yes.
And to be able to use the to be able to download these files and make them and turn them into local file nodes, we use a helper function from Gatsby that's called createRemoteFile. I think I'm gonna check some of my cheat sheets here. Let's see. And it's part of the Gatsby source file system package. Let's have a look.
Are you looking at the docs now?
No, I'm looking at my own docs.
Yeah.
Create file node, and we'll import that from the or not from, because that's not allowed. We're on the server here, so from the require, and it's the Gatsby source file system. So it's a helper function for us, so we don't have to do all of this work ourselves. And then we'll use it. And it turns out that this is an asynchronous function because it's going to download the file. So let's do image file, and then we'll await. And since we're waiting it needs to be async. And because of that, we need to wait it up here. And then we have to make this async as well. Okay. We'll create the remote file, and it has quite a convoluted, not convoluted. It needs a lot of things. It's not convoluted. It's what it needs. So it needs the URL to the image. It's quite similar to when we are in CDN mode, we create a node and we give it all kinds of data. And then we've already said that, the YouTube thumbnail type should inherit from remote file. So that's how it manages to add all of these extra things, all of these extra resolvers for us. But in this case, we need to download it. So we actually need to ask Gatsby to download it, and it becomes a regular file node. And then we use the sharp packages to kind of do all of the image stuff for us. So to get the file, we need to give it the file URL. And in our case, that is found on the OEmbed field on our node. Thumbnail URL. And then we need to give it a parent node ID, because file or nodes that don't have a parent will be lost in when Gatsby does its kind of clean of the cache. If it doesn't have a parent that have been touched in this build round, it will be lost, because we're only creating these in onCreate node, and onCreate node only happens when the YouTube node is created. And so there's no way to kind of like touch this file node that comes downloaded. But if we give it a parent, if the parent has been touched, then our thumbnail will also be touched as it's referenced to the parent node ID, if that makes sense. I need to really write down these things, because it's I think it could be interesting for people. to really understand how the cache layer and how the data layer is actually structured. You see, it takes some of these actions that we need to get, or Gatsby utils, so we need to deconstruct those. So we get the node in onCreate node, which are the Gatsby utils we're sending in here. We actually get a reference to the node being made. And let's get the reporter out of there, because we're going to use that reporter. Create node ID, which is another kind of helper from Gatsby. And then get cache, which is another helper from Gatsby. That's for Gatsby util. But then we also need some of the actions, which is create node and then create node field. So as you can see, I'm looking at my notes here so that we can actually get this done, because I usually don't feel discouraged. I usually always kind of have to look at the docs to see what comes where, because I'm always confused that like get cache is a Gatsby util. It's not an action. I guess action is creating things. So I have a hard time remembering those. So if you do as well, no, it's allowed to look at the docs.
We encourage people to look at the docs.
Yes,
Look
always
at the
get to look at the
docs.
docs. So when I now have this image file, it's created. So if we run this now, as you can see, I've added some extra things here. I'm just going to copy paste this. So we've created an image file, created a YouTube file node for our node with this YouTube ID. Let's run this and we'll see that we now have some new, we'll probably have, or not probably, I need to clean because we need to kick off the onCreate node again. We'll get some new file nodes in our system.
And also on the 17th of May, you went up to Lillian's school.
Yes.
And you did some competitions up there. So what did Lillian do then?
Lillian she ate another ice cream.
But for competitions?
For competitions, they had these little cans in a pyramid, and then she threw balls at them.
Yes.
She did that, but then they didn't have any prizes left, so that was a little bit of a.
I told her that there would probably be no prizes. So was
I know,
she surprised by not having prizes?
The thing is, we had prepared her that there might not be any prizes, but then she was told there are prizes, and then the last prize was given out to the person in front of her, and then there were no more prizes.
So how did she react then?
Well, poorly.
Did she scream? Did she scream?
She might have screamed.
Yeah. As long as she doesn't hit the people arranging the competition, I'm okay.
So let's see if we can find some nodes here. So here we can see that after we've done this part, we have file nodes that are actually our YouTube thumbnails. So they keep the reference to the external file here in the URL field, but they are actual files on the, where did I get my there? They're actually now files that are downloaded. I think we can even find them inside of the cache.
In the DB?
Sure. They're not in the database, but they're going to be in the
normal cache.
In the normal cache. I guess I don't know if we can find them in the cache, but if you do Gatsby build, they will actually be inside of the static folder that is getting built.
So where are they now then?
Where are they now? They might be
in
here
the DB
somewhere.
thing now? Isn't that where everything is that is in graphical?
I think the reference to the file will be there in our Redux.
Where is that DB thing?
I don't know where the DB is when we are doing develop. I need to look into it there. But here's the caches LM. Here it is.
Yes.
Data MDB.
So we're guessing that at least there's some references in there. Caches LMBD.
Yeah. Then the node, I mean the description of the node is in there, but then the actual file, like if you look at the absolute path here, that will be the file is now in, it's in caches, Gatsby source file system. Let's see if we can find it.
Is there then? I like it.
So this is kind of cool since everything, your whole site is being built on build, and also when we're doing develop, you can actually like find everything that's made. It's not like referencing external things. It's actually being,
I see it down there.
downloaded.
Yeah, Gatsby. Yeah.
So there it is. Look at that.
Yes.
It's downloaded.
I like it.
But I like it. We don't want to have to go through all files and then search for the correct file. We want to match our Gatsby YouTube node with our thumbnail. So we want to be able to do all YouTube nodes and then have a thumbnail on our nodes in a similar way as we have when we are doing it with our Gatsby image CDN. We can go to nodes, we can go to thumbnails, and then we can do Gatsby image. Let's just do width 10. And we got our Gatsby information without having to go like to the Gatsby YouTube node, thumbnail nodes, or we just want them on the YouTube node. So we want the same kind of functionality here when we're using the local file system. But here we don't really, since I didn't create these files, Gatsby created these as local files. It's hard to match up the YouTube node with the YouTube thumbnail file. I tried to match it on the URL, but since it's a sub field, like it didn't work. So we're going to do it kind of the way that you might need to do it anyway. So what we'll have to do is that we'll have to create some extra information on our YouTube nodes so that we can match the YouTube node with our correct thumbnail node. So how we're going to do that is that we'll add a Gatsby. We're getting there. We're going to add an extra node field.
Yes.
So that's why I have this already structured here. We're going to create a node field. We're going to create that on the node that was passed in, which is that
node?
We're going to create it on the node that was passed into onCreate node, and that was the YouTube node. So our node is the YouTube node. And then we'll give it a name, the field a name, and I'll call it thumbnail file ID.
Are you still creating the local file node?
No, I'm on 4. Connect the YouTube node to the local file node. Here, we are now on this step. And we'll give that the image file ID. So if we run our file, if we run our
you just skipped straight on to 4.
Yes, I'm on 4.
So we're going to get the YouTube, our new node, the remote file node, to date the YouTube node.
Yes.
With a field.
So what we've done now is that we've
created... But is that totally different from how you did it on the ImageCDN thing?
You'll see soon. We just need this extra information to be able to match them up.
I see.
So if we go back now to our Explorer, everything is a little small today. You'll just have to live with that. And we do a refresh.
But can't you make it bigger?
We now have a fields and then thumbnail file ID.
Yes.
And that is then the ID of our file node that we need to connect to.
Okay, so now it's to pass it kind of in.
Yes. So now in our fields thumbnail file ID, we know what kind of we have a reference to the thumbnail file. So this is when we're going to do the marrying or the dating.
Yes.
Oh, they're not going to be married. They're just going to be dating.
We don't know that yet. It's a bit early, don't you think?
So, here we did the plugin options thumbnail mode. We created schema. We customized the schema for the CDN mode. Now we're going to do the same thing for the download mode.
Yeah.
So else if plugin options thumbnail mode equals a download. We'll do almost the same as we've done here, but we're going to change it up a little bit. So instead of the thumbnail linking, instead of the thumbnail field being of type YouTube file, YouTube thumbnail, that we created for the CDN, in this case, it's actually going to be a file because we're going to reference one of our local files. And then we're going to link from fields, thumbnail, file ID, this one, fields, thumbnail, file ID.
Yes.
And so this is the side of our YouTube thumbnail. And this is the side of the file. So what field on file are we going to look for? We're going to look at the ID. And since we're looking at ID here, we can just remove that, but I like to keep it in to be super explicit about what you're doing, especially since we have a by in our CDN case. It's always nice to have a by in our, in our next case.
But can you explain the from and by?
Yes, I'm just going to do create type. And in this case, we don't have to create the file type because it already exists. So we still need to create type for YouTube type. Okay. So let's look at them, both of them. So for, can I have them both almost, if I close this up? Okay, let's see. I closed that up. So for our CDN case, maybe it will be easier to understand when we look at two examples, because then you can, compare and contrast. So for our CDN example, we say that the thumbnail field should be of it. For the thumbnail field, it should go and look through all of the YouTube thumbnails, and it's going to find the thumbnail that has a YouTube ID field that is equal to the YouTube ID field on YouTube. Ha, that's I think a lot of people are saying that right now.
Go back.
We are going to match.
Go back into the code so I can see it. Okay. This is even more confusing because the from and the by has the same value. What does from actually mean? What does by actually mean?
It means for the thumbnail field, look through all YouTube thumbnail nodes, find a YouTube thumbnail that has the by YouTube ID equal to the YouTube ID on YouTube. So the
but
from
what does the
is the
and
field.
what does the by mean?
The from is look at the YouTube ID field on YouTube nodes, and the by is look at the YouTube ID on YouTube thumbnail nodes.
So the from is the thing that is outside of the parrots, and the by is for the one that is inside the parrots. Because the YouTube thing is outside. You have two yellow parrots.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. Now I understand. Yes. So the from is the one that is outside, and the by is the one that is inside.
Yes.
So let's look at the one that is not the same. But I was just gonna, and then we'll show the two examples in the graphical. So on this one, it says, okay, for the thumbnail field, look through all files and find the file with the ID that matches field's thumbnail file ID on YouTube.
So, and now you focus on the from and the by again. From the by.
So we're gonna look at the ID field on file on the file nodes.
Yes.
And then the from, we're gonna look at the fields .thumbnail file ID on YouTube.
But didn't you just make that fields.thumbnail file ID on the thumbnail node?
No, I made it on the YouTube node.
Ah.
And we can see it here. All YouTube nodes, fields, thumbnail, file ID. And then for the thumbnail,
John is here. Sorry. Okay, it's very short, but I'm going to read it anyway. Lurking. Hello, John. Good to see you. He had a pirate flag there. I didn't see it.
Yay.
Yeah. You know what? I think John has started remodeling his kitchen. or
Mm.
or, or are you just planning it, John? Have you started? Because he did he took out the old refrigerator.
Okay.
I know that, but yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can make this work.
Yes.
And I feel like with this like buy from, and you kind of just you have to do it several times and kind of make your own fields and then try to match nodes. And if you do that enough times, it start getting clearer.
I agree. That is
Um,
the way to do it, but it's
mm,
confusing that it's from, and for me, the thing I would think it would be to and from, but it's not.
yes.
It's
I
by.
I think it's by because you're saying that okay, we're gonna do on the from YouTube from we only have one ID, right? Because it's we have the one node and it has an ID. But then we say look through all of the YouTube thumbnails, and we're kind of like filter all of the YouTube thumbnails by this field
Oh, okay.
because
So
it
you're
could
looking
it
through
could put
every thumbnail, YouTube thumbnail, and and filtering on the by.
yes, because I think if there you could also say that if there was multiple YouTube thumbnails for one YouTube, this could be an array. We could have then said, oh, we know that this is going to be an array by adding these brackets, and the linking would stay the same, but it would filter all of the YouTube thumbnails that by this kind of this key or this field with the value from this field, the from field on YouTube. So I hope nobody's just listening to this because I'm like this, and I'm trying to point on my screen.
So we're looking through all the YouTube thumbnails nodes and then filtering by the YouTube ID,
Hmm.
and then you're matching them on the from.
Yes, kind of.
So there are
So
two and two nodes that are together.
for
Actually,
our case now, it's there will only be one thumbnail per YouTube video. But
does that mean yes?
what did you ask?
Are there? So we're finding these. Now we're in a different place.
Hmm.
Oh, we got them both. Good.
Yes.
Okay, we go looking through the YouTube thumbnails and then filtering them by the YouTube ID,
Hmm.
and then we are dating it each node with another node this time.
It's kind of the other way around because there is a value for every YouTube node. There is a value inside of YouTube ID. That's the from. And then you say, go through all of the YouTube thumbnails and filter them so that they have the same value in their by field. But in this case, you're just going to pick one. But you could say pick all that match. But in this case, we're saying pick one. And also, there is only one.
Oh, there's only one.
Mm-hmm. There are many YouTube thumbnails, but there are only one that has the value inside of YouTube ID that the YouTube node has.
Ah, John says something here. I shall read it out. Arrays are fun, though in this use case the logic of matching through nodes makes more sense.
So
I, I
all
agree, arrays are fun. Matching through nodes, yeah.
so now we have a thumbnail field here. So if we have a look at our thumbnail, the ID of this node should be the same as the ID in our thumbnail fields, because that's what we've asked to match on. So node field's thumbnail field is the same as thumbnail's ID. And that's how it's been able to put the a file node on the thumbnail field, because we said match fields thumbnails field file ID with the file.
So here I see two and two nodes dating. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
That thumbnail, that YouTube node, and that thumbnail node, they're dating, and then the next one is dating, and the other one's
Mhm.
dating. That's great. That is dating.
I don't feel confident that you understand this yet.
I don't. I just wanted to have something to do. Of course, I don't. I have to do more of it, but I
Yeah.
want some of it to not just be soup and something to actually be little bits of meat that I can chew on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so what we've ended up with is for our download case, we can now do thumbnail and then image, child image sharp, and then I guess Gatsby image data with 10, for instance, prettify. And we'll have um a similar query as we have for our CDN,
Yes.
where it has to be image, Gatsby image, and we get a source set, and here we also get a source, but they are, what's a little bit annoying about this is that you have to change your front end code, because if we download the files locally and use the child image sharp, or use kind of um, Gatsby Sharp plugins, this is the structure of the data coming back. While if you use the CDN, this is the structure of the data coming back. So they're slightly different, and you can see here for our local, our downloaded thumbnails, the image will be found inside of the static folder. That's where all the images are. But then for our CDN, they're inside of this like underscore Gatsby image, which are actually then little serverless functions that Gatsby and Netlify implement for you. So yeah. Anyway, and both of our pages should work now. Localhost and sorry, local files and Gatsby CDN.
Oh,
Woo!
John is saying something more. Oh, do you watch Star Trek?
I
Queen
have a
Raae?
little. I have a little.
Shh, yeah. Shh. Ora, you need. Didn't I click it? I didn't. I need to click it. I thought I clicked it. Ora, you need to set up a Vulcan mind meld with Queen Raae.
Does that mean we become one mind?
I don't know, because last time I watched Star Trek was back in '93 when I was staying in New York State, and I don't really remember anything except from that thing there. And in Vulcans, I know who the Vulcans are, kind of. Do I?
Okay, so
I
I
think they're.
thought,
I think the
what if
Vulcans are like super smart. Isn't that
let's
Spock? Yeah, I think so. Sorry.
let's change the naming here so that it's more obvious. So we're
Okay.
done with what we're supposed to do for today.
Good.
But let's
Should we
work with
sum it up?
let's do that in the end.
Okay.
So let's work with the CDN version, because it's like it's an easier match.
Yeah.
So what do we want to call the from field? Should
What
we
do you
just
mean?
call it YouTube from so that it's explicit? Or
No, because from is still super vague to me. I don't
yeah.
get the logic of why it's called
Well,
from.
they could be anything. So make up two words, and then we'll try to make it so that they can match with those two words that you make up.
So you want to have two different words then?
Yes, so that will be more explicit how this is done.
So then I think that the buy thing should be. The buy is the one that is outside of the parrots, right? That's the YouTube.
No, it's the inside. It's what's on the
Okay.
thumbnail.
Then that should be something thumbnail.
Okay.
Come on, Lilian. She's going to
Just
show us something.
Okay, she's going to show something. And then if you can't just make
Go
up
ahead.
something, I'll just make up something.
Something thumbnail. Kom her Lilian, ta den med deg. Ta den med deg. Ja, kom her. Lilian has made something.
Lillian has made pirate do something. Okay, John, you make up 2 words, and we'll talk more about how we match nodes, since you were interested in that as well.
This is, I've started writing the new script for our new podcast that will come after the summer. And I'm going to read it like this. Do you see my eyes? Can you see my eyes?
Are you going to be a ghost or a pirate? Is that a ghost or a pirate face?
Lilian, hun skjønte ikke hva det var.
Okay, I have the text.
I have the text here.
Okay.
Men hvem da skjønte ikke hva det var?
You can't see my eyes, can you?
Yes, almost. But I think you need to remove the if you remove the plastic, it's going to be easier.
Yeah. Okay. But that was it. That was that. No, Mama.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's why you test things. Okay, it's a skeleton head.
Okay. Skal du gå tilbake dit? Yeah, she thinks it's very super cute.
Okay.
Okay.
I am
something
just
thumbnail.
No, we're not going to use any of the words we already have. We're just going to use completely different words so that we can actually see them as separate things.
Well, this is some kind of dating. So, is it an invitation that is coming from and then going to the buy?
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that there's an invitation from the YouTube to be connected to the YouTube thumbnail by that thing.
By the what?
So let's do pirate, and then let's do queen.
Okay.
Okay, so we're trying to link from the field pirate on YouTube to the field queen on thumbnail, on YouTube thumbnail. So that means we need to add on the YouTube thumbnail, we need to add a field called queen, and it's going to be of string. And then when we are creating our YouTube node, we need to add a field called pirate.
Yes.
So on create node, no, that's a YouTube node, create YouTube node ID. So here, in addition to YouTube ID, we add the pirate, I guess. Did we do queen on the... Let me have a look.
The thumbnail was the queen.
Okay, so the thumbnail has the queen, and then the YouTube has the pirate.
Yes.
String, and it's needs to be there. And we also have YouTube ID, actually. We just didn't put that in there. We let it be inferred. Okay, pirate, and then we have a queen. So when we are creating the node, when we are creating the YouTube node, oh my God, I already lost. See, this is the problem. That's why I like to call them the same thing. Thumbnail queen. Okay. Create YouTube node, pirate. Yes. And then when we create the thumbnail node, we need to add the queen, and it needs to be node YouTube ID. Okay.
Yes.
So there should be then we do a develop, we can have a look to see how we're supposed to match these up.
But are you trying to say that it's not actually the nodes that are dating, but the IDs?
No, it is the nodes that are dating, but we're matching them on something that is the same.
Yeah, but that's not what's weird. What's weird, it's from and by.
Mm-hmm.
And together they don't make any sense in the everyday kind of thing. Because
I think it makes sense if you think about it as filtering.
From somebody, but it's actually written by somebody else. That's just weird. What did you
Okay.
say?
I think it makes sense if we were matching up more, because then the by would be more of a filtering field.
No, it doesn't make sense because from and by is doesn't make sense to me. So we need some way to make it make sense. But we're not doing that now.
Okay, so let's have a look. Let's filter on YouTube ID for instance. So we have a YouTube here equals. So let's find one YouTube, and it has all YouTube node and then pirate. Well, that is not correct. That should not be the ID that it has. And then all YouTube filter YouTube ID equals. And then let's have a look at what it has on its Queen. Okay, so I already see that this is wrong because the pirate should be the same as an ID here.
Yeah.
So that's on the node. So Queen should be node YouTube ID. Why is it not? Yeah, Queen is correct, but pirate is not correct. So let's go and have a look at the create nodes pirate. So let's go and have a look at our pirate here. Yeah, it's not supposed to be the YouTube node ID. It's supposed to be the YouTube ID.
Ah.
Okay, so then if we go back to our matchmaking here, we actually say look through all YouTube thumbnail, like for every YouTube node. So we have found one YouTube node. We should take that value that is inside of parrot, and then we should filter all YouTube thumbnails by Queen that has the same value.
Okay.
And that's how we match them.
So we are matching.
So
we're
here
trying
we have
to find nodes that have matching values of something.
Yes. So we say, yeah.
So it's not actually dating, it's more like making matches so that the date will be good.
Yes. So here we're saying, okay, for all YouTube nodes, so for this YouTube node that has the pirate value of TX, 5X something, filter through all YouTube thumbnails and filter out the ones where the Queen field has the same value as our pirate field. And then for the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So what it's doing for this first one is actually to do a filter on YouTube node Queen, and then ask for every YouTube thumbnail node that has the Queen field equal to what was in the pirate field of the YouTube node. And then it does a filter. Oh, and it found one, and then it takes that whole nodes and add it to a field called thumbnail up here. So if we then look at the thumbnail and the Queen value, we'll see that the pirate and the Queen value is the same, and that's how they matched it. But the thumbnail has all of the data from that file node that we matched, but we only matched on that one field. We took the from pirates and matched it to by Queen, and it has all of the information about the file in there. Does it make more sense?
Can you go back to that query thing where we had the three? No, go back in graphical. Go back where you had the 4 nodes up there. Yeah, where you are scrolling up and down. I'll go back to the other one.
Oh, I put more of them on there. So if we just remove
like that.
Yeah.
Okay, now are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So this is how I see it. It is blind dating. So what's the point of these blind dates. It's to yeah, to have the nodes find another node with a matching value, because it's very
Yes.
good to have at least one value in common when you're, if it's going to be a successful date. So basically it's blind dating to find somebody who has one matching value, and then you can decide if you wanna go on dating. But in this system, you are not allowed to go on dating. Well, no, actually, if you find a matching date, if you find a matching value, you have to date. That's how it is.
Yeah.
It's a very structured kind of blind date system where if you match on a value, then you have to go on dating.
Yes. And I think their example in the Gatsby docs is kind of explains this better, because it shows in code what customize schema customization, because there it's actually, you can have multiple things. It makes more sense than the case that we are doing. So let's do Gatsby types build now.
Wait a minute. Are you going to come up with something that is so different that it will only confuse me now?
I don't know.
If you have to make a guess, I would say
Probably.
yes.
But for the people out there, so you might be able, you want to match author to the author node. And what you would do then is like go through all of the authors and then find one where source author equals their email. And that's what they kind of, all of that code is made easier by the linking. So here you say author, okay, link, and since here it, you don't have to put the from and the by, because it's done by the ID, which is like interesting. But here it's the other way. So it's for author, there's only one author, but there might be multiple reviewers, but both are looking at the author JSON nodes and finding what it needs there. So here it will find one, and here it will potentially find several, and you want to link by email instead of ID. So that's somewhere for the people watching. You can go there and have a look if you want to.
Yes.
Okay, I guess that was it. I guess that was it.
Yes, that was it. That's it.
I'll summarize.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. For our summary, we are going to remove the code we made here. And then we'll clean and run both of them so that I can show off what we've done in our demo or in our develop. And next week, I think we'll have some interesting news for everyone.
So what? Remote file. Why? If the plugin user does not have ImageCDN, they should also be able to get remote file.
Yes. So what we wanted to do is make it up to the plugin user to decide if they want the thumbnails to be served using Gatsby ImageCDN, or if they want them to be downloaded and treated as local image files, or none if you just want to use the link to the image on the Google's or YouTube servers.
Yes.
And we already had support for Gatsby ImageCDN. So what we started doing is that we created a plugin option, thumbnail mode, and you can then set it to non-CDN or download. And the first work you do when you add option nodes.
Yes.
Option nodes. Now I can't even say the things. Blah blah blah. Getting tired. Oh boy. Gatsby node. So the first thing you do when you add a plugin option is to add it to your plugin option schema so that it can be validated. So if somebody adds a value that is not one of these three values, they will get an error. And if they don't give any, they will get CDN as their default. And then our second step was then to pick all the thumbnail code we already had and only do it when CDN mode was activated. So we had to do a little work here on Create Dev Server. We needed to do a little work in our schema customization because it's going to be slightly different for our download mode. And we also needed to do some changes in our onCreate node, which is where we are doing our thumbnail work. We create a YouTube node, and then when the YouTube node is created, that's when we do our thumbnail node. So we don't do it we only do it when there is a new YouTube node. And I think that's the three places we did that. And after we did the CDN stuff, only if CDN mode is activated, we added code to make to support the download mode. So let's go back up. We don't have to do anything in onCreate Dev Server for the download mode, but we needed slightly different schema customization. We are downloading these thumbnails as files, and then we are linking the file to our YouTube node via this schema customization.
Yes.
And we do so by adding an extra field so that we have something to match on that we have control over. And we do that in onCreate node. If we're in download mode, we actually create a local file from that external thumbnail by blah, blah, blah. Let's find it. By using the helper function, createRemoteFile node. And it's a little bit of because we're not creating actually a remote file node. I mean, it's not remote. What we're actually doing is that we're taking a URL of something remote and we're downloading it and creating a local file node, which had me confused for a while because I thought it, I don't know what I thought. I thought it would work more like the CDN version of this does now, but createRemoteFile node actually goes to that URL and downloads that file into your local file system so that it could be sourced by Gatsby source file system and will be treated as any of the other local files that you have.
Does that mean that we create a node, but we also have a file?
Yes. So you
do both, kind of.
Yes. So it's when you if you have an image next to your markdown files, for instance, and you source the markdown files and the images, they are first files, and then we take the files that are images and make them into image sharp nodes, and we take the markdown files and make them into markdown nodes. But in this case, first it has to download a file and make a pretend local file, but it's actually downloaded, but it wasn't there before running build. It's not a file that you provide inside of your file, inside of the project, but it's a file that then gets downloaded and treated as if you had sourced it from locally.
But so what you're kind of saying almost is that we get the data layer to make a file for us.
Yes, kind of. Or we get the this function to make a file for us, put it in our, in our cache when we're doing develop, or in our static folder when we're doing build, and then we created a node representing that file.
So should we call it blind dating or just dating?
I don't know. I don't know if this dating metaphor works at all.
Well, that's what we have. That's the only thing we got. If somebody's got some better ideas, that author thing just didn't do it for me. So if somebody comes up with something better, but we're not doing that now. We're keeping the dating. Okay, so it's not blind dating then. It's just good old dating. Yep.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
I like it.
Yes.
And if you people find a great substitute for dating, remember, it almost has to start with a D. Because,
okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
And we can then query for our thumbnail in the same way we would local files by doing child image sharp Gatsby image data. While in our CDN case, we do it as we do for Gatsby images served through the Gatsby ImageCDN. And it's a slightly different syntax, and it comes back in a slightly different data structure. And that's why it's called Gatsby image, and the other one is called Gatsby image data.
Yes.
And it's underneath child image sharp.
Yes.
Whew.
Good work.
I'm a little tired now.
Well, let's quit.
Let's quit. We have some exciting news next week, so make sure to show up for that. And if you're not already subscribed to our almost daily email list, then head on over to queen.raae.codes.
Oh, Lilian, du må komme. Det er avslutningen.
Nei, pappa.
Vil du ikke være med? Du må ikke.
Jo, jeg vil være med, men jeg vil ikke at det skal være slutt.
She says, is it already over? I don't want it to be over already.
She gets to stay up late when we do our show.
She wants to have a big head like me. Maybe you can make us even bigger? Yes, she has put on more paint. I don't know why, but... Nei, du, skal du sitte? Ok. Ok, er du klar?
Ikke på knærne.
Ja. Ok.
Yay!
Du teller til 3, og så begynner du å spille.
1, 2, 3.
This has been another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Pirate Queen Raae. I'm your host, Captain Olavia, and that is the Pirate Princess. And next week we'll have great news. See you next Thursday.